This egg came out white, and this brown.
I have a normal home and I have friends.
We are all the same on the inside.
Wow! Pretty normal, don't you agree?
Did you know that people living with albinism in Africa still live in fear? Did you know that in some parts of Africa, they're still attacked and their body parts sold for the so-called rituals? Did you know that many do not live past the age of 40 just because they don't have access to affordable medical care of their condition? Did you know that in this day and era, where everybody is preaching about equality and acceptance in the society, that people living with albinism are still discriminated, that there is still a lot of stigma in our African societies? Well, our guest today wants to raise her voice to inspire our young children to accept people with all sorts of conditions. Stay tuned. I am Phil Yambo Makora, and this is the Tales of Yambo. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to have an enlightening conversation. Please remember, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, this is the time to do it so you do not miss out on great topics. So today I have the amazing Ngozi, and we are going to talk about an important matter that really affects our community. Like I said, your name means skin in Swahili, and it is ironical that we are talking about skin today. Anyway, I'm sure everybody is really anxious to know who you are, what you do. So tell us something about yourself.
My name is Ngozi Okwuosa. I am an early childhood educator that has been working with children here in Germany for 20 years. And now I also wrote a children's book.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. And exactly, that's why we are here today to talk about this children's book. And I know it is about trying to create some kind of awareness when it comes to those living with albinism. And I think the children who are going to read your book are going to be lucky, because when I was growing up, I didn't have such a book. And we didn't have these discussions with our parents, with our uncles. We never knew what albinism means, what these people go through. So I think your book is a blessing to the kids who are going to read it, and I am honored to have you here. So tell me, what inspired you to write this book?
Yes, one of my Facebook friends is a young man with albinism, and he put up a post talking about how his childhood was, the kind of mocking and name-calling and exclusion he experienced as a child. So he promised himself as a child that when he grows up, he's going to help people, especially children with albinism. So he wrote about how he goes to schools and tries to build a bridge between the new student or people and the teacher to talk about what the special needs of this child is, which could include that he may need to sit closer to the blackboard or the whiteboard because they usually have visual impairments, but also how to work against maybe bullying or name calling that might occur in the class. So when I saw this post, that already touched me really deeply. But then on the comment section below, people were saying things like, a young girl with albinism was saying she doesn't like going outside.
Oh, no.
Another one said he has been looking for a job and he can't get a job. People don't believe that he's able to work as a normal person. And even there was a young man that said that sometimes he feels like taking his life.
Oh, no.
So this inspired me. I started looking for storybooks to give, but I didn't see any storybook in the market.
Yeah.
So I decided that I need to write this story.
Oh.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's really, really amazing. And I think that this awareness is very, very, very important. So in Nigeria, have you heard? I'm sure there are stories, the gruesome stories that happen to people living with albinism. Do you have a few examples for us?
Well, in Nigeria, it's relatively mild compared to other African countries. So what they would experience would be name calling and mocking and bullying. And of course, exclusion in the area of jobs. Trying to get a job is difficult. But there are African countries where there is, a lot of superstition attached to it,
Yes.
and even people get murdered to be used. The body parts are used as ritual material.
Yes.
There are African countries where the parents, like the father runs away and leaves the girl, the mother or the wife with the children once there is a child born with albinism.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, I know because I also know in East Africa it's also very notorious for selling the body parts of people living with albinism because they believe they will bring some kind of favor. And most of the so-called witch doctors always ask for body parts of people living with albinism. And I think it is so sad that in this day and era, in a century where there's so many people preaching about equality, tolerance, and cohesion within communities, that Africa, we're still lagging when it comes to that. Do you think that our governments and our political power can do better, or do you think they've done anything to help with this stigma that's being put against the people living with albinism?
I think that the education system in Nigeria, especially where I have experience with, but I think generally in African countries, could be more inclusive. There should be more training. Teachers should be trained more to work with children that are different or have disabilities.
Yes.
And I think that is lacking. There should be more training in that area. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. In Kenya, for example, I've seen many campaigns by NGOs, not even our government, but NGOs who try to make it easier for people living with albinism by, for example, giving them the sunscreen or the things they need to protect themselves and protect their skin. Do you think more should be done in this area? Because I read some statistics that apart from the societal prejudice, some cannot afford this expensive sunscreen that they need, this expensive care that they need, and many don't make it to the age of 40. Do you think that our governments can do better, or what can the community do better when it comes to giving them a chance to survive?
Yeah, that definitely more can be done.
Yes.
And I would encourage anybody that could go into producing sunscreen to take it up. It would be a great venture, not only for people with albinism, but generally people living in Africa.
Yeah.
That sunscreen production would really go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so sad because I read somewhere that they need better and more intensive sunscreen than us, and there's some people who cannot afford it. And I've seen many campaigns, and I think that's something that our communities should be looking into, to trying to make them feel inclusive. And what about the mental support for people living with albinism? Because as you've said, it's very traumatizing when you yourself, you see you're different. yeah, and the society around you does not make you feel comfortable. So which means in your head, you think you're less than what you are. Do you think we do? Do you think we also need to invest in the mental support of people living with albinism?
Yeah, that is why I wrote this book.
Yes.
Because Rapulu's Rainbow Stars, the main character in the book is a boy with albinism. I think we need more of such media where people are more included in media for children. And that's why I wrote this book. And in this book, the children around him were mocking him. That made him very sad.
Yeah.
But then they realized that when he doesn't come out to play with him, they miss him. So the lesson in the book is that friendship should be based on what is inside the person and not what is outside, not just the skin color. And there's a demonstration in the book where the teacher brings in a brown egg and a white egg and opens up the eggs, and the children could understand that we are all the same on the inside. And that made these children realize that they need to change the way they treated Rapulu in you know, maybe the way they treated him in class. Yes.
And now that you've mentioned Rapulu, that name, did it just come to you, or does it have a deeper meaning?
Actually, that is the name of the young man that inspired me to write.
Oh,
yes.
amazing.
Rapulu was the young man that inspired me to write the book.
Oh, that's really, really amazing. Okay, now most of my viewers are Africans living in Germany. Do you think as people living in Europe, do you think we have a responsibility to support our communities back home when it comes to albinism? Because normally, you know, everybody, when they see somebody with albinism, they think that's not me, it will never affect me. But what they do not understand, it can happen anytime, anywhere. So do you think that we as Africans living in Germany could do something? Do we have the power to do something to empower our people back at home?
I mean, in my case, I would be glad if people would join me to support this project, this book, and join me with contribution. I'm going to be on Kickstarter at the end of the month, and then with that contribution, I'm able to print, you know, the first batch of the books, and I'm able to distribute these books in Africa. Okay. And now hopefully in other African countries, just and not just Nigeria. You know, so another idea would be to translate it into French and Swahili, so that we can get to more people, more children can have access to this book. Supporting such projects is really something we can do from here. Apart from that, the problem with albinism is that there's a lot of ignorance around it. So if we can talk about facts and tell people that superstition does not need to be attached to this. This is a natural occurrence that occurs even among animals. And there's nothing magical about the skin color. They're just humans with less skin color. That's all. Yes.
Yeah. So guys, you've heard, albinism is just something, it's just a condition where your skin cannot produce melanin. That's it. They're just people like us. It's just like the same person like you are. So before you judge a person next time, try, empower yourself, enlighten yourself with information. And if you're living in Germany or Europe where you know better, where you know, even if nobody in your family is affected, it is something that affects our community. It's something that you can do. You can support projects that enlighten people about this condition. You can support projects that help people living with albinism have a normal life. So what do you plan? What do you see like in the next 5 years? What will your book, what do you expect, or what do you hope your book to have achieved in terms of empowering change in our African communities?
I hope that the book will be in all the schools, in all the countries where it is an issue. And I hope to be able to maybe get some facilitators that will also work with schools to start some projects and activities that will encourage tolerance and inclusion in general, not just for children with albinism, but general with for people with some kind of impairment.
Yeah, I think that's very important, because when kids grow up seeing people with albinism in their books, they take it as normal. And like you said, we don't have such books in our African community, and I think it's a great thing that you wrote this book. And to be honest, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm so really excited to read it, and it's a really great thing that you're doing. So if you are in a position to help Ngozi to publish this book, it is one of a kind. We need this for our kids. So, like you said, later you will let us know how we can support you, how people can help fundraise funds to publish this book. And I would call on everyone, if you have or if you feel that this topic is important to you and to your community, it is the time to do something about it. These are our children, these are our people, they are part of us. We are living in a modern day era where such things should not happen. We should stop the slaughtering of people with albinism, because who gives us the right to label people unworthy of living? It doesn't really make sense. So you're doing a great job. Now let's talk about something else. I always see you posting some very beautiful cakes. And tell me about that. I mean, you're an early childhood educator, you're an author, and you also bake awesome cakes. And I had one, I think my birthday 2 years ago, you delivered the cake to my birthday. It was amazing. Yeah, so tell me about that.
Yeah, when I came to Germany newly, I was learning how to speak German more fluent and all of that. So I first of all did the bakery training, the German bakery training. Nice. So but now I do that at the side, mostly for people that are friends, and I love to really wow people with the cake.
Oh, I've seen the photos. And I think it's great that you're using your talent. Like I said, I believe that every human being has something special. And the fact that you're using your talent to do something or to bring smiles on people's faces is more than amazing. And that's also something for you people outside. If you have a talent with your hands, if you're good at something, use it. Use it. Now, back to our topic about albinism, like as we are winding up slowly. What advice would you give parents who have children with albinism? Because it can happen when two parents with normal skin can have a child with albinism. How can they support this child? Because I can imagine for these parents it's also horror. When their child is being discriminated, when their child is being name called, what advice would you give them? Because they are a great support system for their children.
First of all, I would advise empower your child by always telling your child you can do everything you want to do, just like every other person.
Yeah.
And then also, make sure your child's eyes are checked and that they're wearing the right kind of glasses that they need. And it's also important to talk to the teachers of the child. Make sure that you are proactive, that you don't let your child be given a seat at the back of the class, and whatever else you can do to be cooperative with the teachers. This has helped a lot of children that have visual impairment to get along. Work with the teachers. Find out if there's something you can do to even make the work of the teacher easier. Maybe print out things bigger. Whatever is needed.
Okay. Yeah. And do you think teachers generally should be given extra training of how to deal with children living with albinism? Because I think it's not in most of their training, it's not there, and so it's always a curriculum made up for it's a one thing that's supposed to be to cater for everybody, but it doesn't really work that way. Do you think that there should be more training?
I think there should be definitely more inclusive education, not just for children with albinism, but generally there should be training of how to handle children that have visual impairments or hearing impairments or any kind of physical impairment that children can have, and also in the area of tolerance and bullying, how to work against that. There should be more training. Yes.
Okay. So if somebody is watching you now from Nigeria and they're feeling shy because sometimes, you know, they might hide their child, like, don't go play outside, don't go do this, would you encourage them to seek help? Would you encourage them to find any organization that can support them? Would you encourage them to find a support group that can help them?
Yeah, together we are always stronger.
Yes.
So it's very good to find people with similar conditions or the same condition and find out how they solve problems that might occur. The skin needs some extra treatment or care. And it's good to protect these children from the sun, and I think all organizations that stand with it always suggest to wear a big hat, and sometimes they might need sunshades. So it's good to get information, and it's also good to get in touch with a skin doctor if in case there's any change in the skin, maybe some patches coming up or something like that. Yes.
So in case you are out there and you're thinking you are alone, you are not. Do not hide, do not keep away, do not shy away. There are many NGOs in many African countries as we speak right now. There are many campaigns that fight for the rights of people living with albinism. So it's just about getting information, finding a support group, and you know, when you're many, like Ngozi has said, as a collective, you can create change in our society. So Ngozi, as we finish, give us your parting shot. What would you like to tell our viewers regarding people living with albinism? Tell us your expectations, what you think they should do. So take it home for us.
I would love to talk to us. We need to change the way we treat people with albinism in Africa generally. But we also need to look for a way to reach out to the younger generation, to develop a culture of tolerance and to work against all the superstitious beliefs. Rapulu's Rainbow Stars is a picture book with 26 beautifully illustrated pages. The illustrator that worked on it is Ngozi Corsa. And the beautiful film that we made to, like a trailer of the book and a pitch film, was made by SSO. He is such a creative mind. And I want to also thank all my friends that proofread the book, and Che Chukwumerije that edited my book and gave me some ideas, and Michael Newman that also edited the language of the book. Thank you all so much.
Amazing. Exactly. Well said. And that goes to even us, because there's a lot of ignorance. Even those of us who think they're educated, they still do not understand. It's about time. Get informed, get familiar with this topic, and do something. Because if you're not part of the change, you are part of the problem. Today, it's your chance to decide. Who are you and which side do you belong to? Ngozi, thank you so much. It was an amazing time with you, and I would really like a second interview after you publish your book. We need to push this. This is something that our community needs. And I wish you lots and lots of success. And really, to be honest, I need to be the first person to get this book. I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you. That was amazing to have you here.
And thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. So there you have it. We had an amazing guest, Ngozi, who's trying to give a voice to those who are discriminated in our African society. So it is a wake-up call for myself and for you too. Ask yourself, have you done anything towards the fight of trying to create acceptance of people living with albinism? I've taken it upon myself from today as inspiration from Ngozi to try and participate more, because if not us, who then? I am Phil Yambo Makora, and this is the Tales of Yambo.